From about the age of 35 to 48, I kept trying to lose fat the way everyone tells you to. You know, calories in, calories out, plant based, meal plans, nutritionists. None of it worked long term. And it wasn't because I was lazy, it's because I didn't understand what was really going on with the relationship between food and my hunger signals. So today, I want to share why the ketogenic lifestyle, cycling in carnivore once in a while, finally worked for me when everything else didn't. This is where the foundation was set without me even realizing it. When my son Nolan was born in 2000, I was in my early 30s. My oldest son Patrick was 7, going on 8. I'd been out of the Coast Guard since 1994. At the time, I was working at Boeing up until the time of the McDonnell Douglas merger, and by that time, I was already part time in the mortgage industry. By 2000, I had transitioned fully into wholesale mortgage banking. At the same time, my wife Corey started her mortgage processing business. We were both trying to build careers, and that added stress. I was still active. I rode my bike everywhere. At the time, I weighed around 225 to 235 pounds, and I wasn't shredded, but I was functional. I wasn't involved in gym culture. There was no lifting background, and I wasn't unhealthy yet. I just didn't know much about health. This is where most men start losing ground quietly. In my mid 30s, things started changing. Now, on the wholesale mortgage side, I saw industry problems in around 2004, signs of what would become the housing crash. My wife and I, Corey, and talked about it. In April of 2005, I transitioned into a full time position with a national LTL trucking company. Before that, I had worked days in banking and then nights on the dock. Now I was driving full time. That meant long hours, irregular schedule, and my wife, Corey, she saw changes too. Financial pressures grew. Now, at the time, we joined a gym, and like many people, we went once, maybe twice a month. Why? We didn't know what we were doing. And the fat crept up slowly, quietly. Now, this is when stress started running my life. Life got extremely more complicated. My wife had clients who didn't pay. Financial stresses increased. She took a second job. And after that second job started, the stress really mounted. Not long after, my wife miscarried with our second child. And at around the same time, Patrick's mother tried to move him out of Washington. Now, I fought it early in court. I built a strong case, and I won. But it drained me. We were surviving, not thriving. We were running on fumes. That meant we bought cheaper foods, more processed foods. We bought out of convenience. Bad habits got comfortable. 2012. This was the worst year of my life. And after the court case, I tried to rebuild my relationship with Patrick. There was a period where contact was limited, mostly phone calls, occasional meetings. It was painful. And in May of 2012, I was seriously injured at work. To top it off, my injury was misdiagnosed. Surgery was delayed. I spent about 2.5 months at home, inactive, frustrated, eating poorly, and there was tension with my employer. I eventually returned to light duty, And while I was at work, the day was September 28th, 2012, a Friday. At about 4 o'clock in the morning, my oldest son, Patrick, passed away in a house fire. I didn't find out about it until 12 hours later when my own mother called me, asking why I hadn't told her grandson had died. That moment was the worst moment of my life. After his funeral, I became depressed. I leaned hard into high-end beers. I told myself it wasn't a problem. It didn't affect my work. It didn't affect my family, but it destroyed my metabolism. And I checked out. The scale kept climbing. And 2012 changed everything. Now, between 2012 and 2014, I gained a lot of fat, and I knew I was in trouble. By the time I really noticed, I was close to 285 pounds. I knew I was becoming obese. I wasn't oblivious to it. I just didn't know how to fix it. From about 2014 to 2016, my wife and I saw the same doctors. They pushed on us expensive prepackaged meals. Counted for about 15 to 1700 calories per day per person. Problem, we were always hungry. We were always tired. We snacked to survive. And it failed. In 2016, I did a short-term plant-based experiment. It was about between 60 and 90 days. I ate 80 to 90% plant-based. That meant more grains, very limited on eggs and lean chicken. I ate kale smoothies for breakfast, and it wrecked my gut. And as a truck driver, that mattered. I still ate convenience food, things like plant-based Thai meals, thinking plant-based meant healthy. It wasn't. In late 2016, we finally saw a nutritionist. Calories in, calories out, 4 to 6 meals a day, logbooks. We were told, eat a banana if you're hungry. We lost some fat, but never felt full. Always thinking about food. And when we stopped, it came back. And that brings us to 2018. Yeah, 2018. This is when my new doctor smacked me upside the head and put me back on track. Why? He congratulated me because in 2018, my doctor told me I was morbidly obese, hypertensive, and pre-diabetic. That was my wake-up call. That's when keto entered my life by his recommendation. For the first time, I stopped thinking about food all day. No constant hunger, no cravings. I was full, satisfied. Cutting sugars and starches reset my hunger signals. It gave me structure. And the feeling of satiety made it sustainable. My energy improved. My blood work improved. My life improved. This is when I gave up beer. Because of the carb load, gone. I stopped wine and whiskey at first, but I later reintroduced it carefully. Beer, though, stayed gone, and that mattered. Now, after I proved this work to myself, I wanted to understand why. See, for the first 10 months on keto, I just did the work. I followed the plan. I learned basics online. I focused on consistency. And after losing about 100 pounds of fat and water, I got curious. Why was this working? I'm not a scientist, but I started reading. I started listening. And that meant I started learning. Fast and highly processed carbs and sugars trigger craving signals. They train you to want more. Modern food is very easy to overeat. Even fruit is sweeter now. That banana I was told to eat has about 3.5 teaspoons of sugar in it per banana. Now that's not bad. That's just reality. Then I heard Dr. Sean Baker in an interview talk about a former food scientist, someone who actually designed addictive foods. And to be honest with you, that confirmed how I had lived the last few years. See, this wasn't about getting older. It was about maturity and learning what I was never taught. I was 49 years old when I lost my first 100 pounds. And you know what? Age mattered. See, my son Nolan had graduated and started building his life. My priorities started to change. I thought about the future. Time with my wife, a future with grandkids, travel, health. I stopped negotiating because now I knew what worked. And more importantly, I stopped giving up on myself. I started paying attention. I started questioning old nutrition advice, and I started thinking independently. Consistency became easier because my food addiction was gone, and I took responsibility for my own actions. See, keto didn't work because it's magic. It worked because it fixed my relationship with food. It broke the addiction I had with certain foods. It taught me what real satiety feels like. Now, I know many men are told keto is an unhealthy lifestyle choice. Guess what? I was told that too. But you know what else? It gave me my life back. Sometimes you have to question the advice that clearly isn't working for you. See, here's the thing, gentlemen, you don't have to do this alone. I did most of this by myself. And to be honest with you, it was harder than it had to be. But you know what? That's why I'm here. To build a community of men to take their health seriously. Here's the thing. If you're struggling right now, see, gentlemen, you're not weak. You are just at the beginning of the process. And I hope my story helps you take the next step. Thank you for watching.